My name is Minister EnQi. I am the naturopathic doctor and the spokesman for the Melanin Verse Diabetes Ministry. Every time you go to the supermarket without the electrician grocery shopping list, it's like putting a loaded gun to your head. Stop playing Russian roulette with your life. Help us make America great again. Learn how to save time. Learn how to save money with the electrician grocery shopping list on Amazon now. Go to Amazon now. The life you save may be your own.
Myron! Myron!
What?
What are you doing? What you doing?
What you talking about? What am I doing?
You reading them nasty books again, right, Myron?
Everybody reading those nasty books, man. You scared the hell out of me. What you talking about, man? Wait, I ain't did that in about 2 weeks.
You called yesterday, 2 weeks. What you reading? What you reading?
You scared the goddamn book, man. Dr. EnQi. I went on Amazon and got 3 Dr. EnQi books because I'm reading about melatonin and biochemistry.
What is, Myron, that's not even a, first of all, it's not melatonin and whatever it is that you just said. It's melanin and biochemistry. You can't even pronounce the word, so how you reading? How you reading, Myron?
I'm not looking at the pictures. I know I look at the pictures. I got the books right here. I'm looking at the pictures. You know, it ain't nothing nasty about this. So what are you talking about? I got all the books right here. What are you talking about?
Myron, you don't even know how to read. Every time we get mail, you bring it to me. You think I don't know that?
I went to I got hooked on Phoenix. Now, what you talking about? I was hooked on Phoenix, so I know how to read.
As of when? As of when? Because first of all, hooked on phonics, I believe it's for kids. There's no such thing as hooked on Phoenix. And if I recall, you're the same person that thought reindeer was pronounced reender, and you're the same person that thought pigeon was pronounced piggion. So it makes sense that you went to hooked on Phoenix.
Man, such a dumbass son.
No,
man.
you
always trying to say somebody can't read. I know exactly what I'm talking about, man. I'm reading the books. I got the book. I got the goddamn receipt right here. I got the goddamn receipt right here for the books. What you talking about?
Well, you need to return them for somebody who know how to read them. And I still don't. It's probably all type of stuff in the inside of the books, Myron. That's how sneaky you are. Give me the books. Give me the books, Myron.
Hell no.
Give me the books, Myron. Give me the books, Myron.
I'm not giving you none. I got these books off Amazon. I'm not giving you the books. Ain't that no?
Bye.
I've been in this game for years. You're animals to the shit. Animal, baby. The gods have blessed us. We must act now. We must act now to save us, to save our souls.
I'm alive. I'm alive. We got to take care of my man Dennis. We got to take care of Dennis. Hold on, man. There we go. Okay, Dennis should be straight. Okay, listen. We got some interesting Patreon questions. So y'all know I'll be up here talking crazy sometime, right? If you watching already, right? We ain't got but a handful of people watching, but if you one of the handful of people watching and somehow you stumbled onto this, we had 5 minutes into the video and you haven't hit the like button or the subscribe button or the subscribe button and the like button, or you haven't turned your notifications on, or you totally abandoned Dr. EnQi and you haven't sent me a Cash App, feel free to go ahead, stop listening to me for a minute, hit the Cash App, hit the subscribe, hit the like button. Keep the movement alive, people. Okay, now back to what I was saying, right? So while y'all taking a break to handle that, Cash App, likes, and subscribes and all that, I could be talking my mess, right? Okay, so y'all know I'll be up here talking, and you know, we get into the information, but sometimes we get a little. So I got some questions about basketball, right? Now, normally I will skip over the basketball questions because it's always somebody asking me something about some health, something or other. And I try to prioritize the people in the Patreon because I can't get to everybody, but I try to focus on the health, like urgency, right? Here's something that caught me off guard, though. And I realized when I went online, it was more important than what attention I had given to it. It was more important than what attention I had given to it. Now, we have the Constitution book, right? So if you don't have the Constitution book, go to Amazon now, put the Constitution book in your cart, get this book, right? This book has all of the food, the nutrition, the cheat codes. Obviously, my children's drawings. So there's a section in the book from page 177? Yeah, so from 177, right? 177, 178, 179, and you can include 180, right? So from 177 to 180, we really go in depth in terms of the cheat codes and the specific nutrition for arthritis, right? And joint health. Now, if you don't know, and this is kind of why the question was important. So let me say how I got to this, how we got here, right? How we got here. So somebody asked about all of the injuries in the NBA, right? And then I kind of left it there. And then when I was walking Chase to the school bus, Chase asked me, he said, "Dad, how come it is like in January and February is so many injuries, you know, like so many sports injuries?" So I was talking to him about the relationship of vitamin D, right? The relationship of vitamin D to incident, you know, like light that we get that's not on purpose, if that makes any sense. You know, like you leave your house, you get for most people, you leave your house, you jump in the car. So that's maybe a few seconds or a few minutes of natural light that you're getting. You know, maybe you're in and out at lunch or something to that effect, but people aren't really getting that much light, right? And that's for people that live in Southern California, Texas, Florida, Michigan. Like right now, like as this moment right now, it's snowing outside. Right now, it's snowing outside here, right? So when you go through vitamin D shortage, right? When you go through vitamin D shortage, it affects everything. It affects everything. Depression, right? Mental depression, right? People are depressed mentally, emotionally. People's bones are weaker. So all of those things tend to increase risk factors for sports injuries, right? So we can talk about Anthony Davis. We can talk about Kyrie Irving. Blessings goes out to Kyrie, right? Me and him wound up talking a lot about Kyrie. Kyrie is a big name in my household, right? We've never met Kyrie, even though Kyrie copied off my tattoo. I don't know how Kyrie copied off my tattoo. I think I might know how, because I kind of influenced his influencer. Anyway, yeah, he copied off my tattoo, right? But no. But Kyrie is a big name in my house because Chase is a Kyrie maniac. Like, he loves Kyrie's sneakers and Kyrie's handles and all, whatever. So Kyrie's a big deal. He watches a lot of Kyrie videos, and you know, Kyrie takes a lot of time to do training and stuff like that for the, you know, young athletes and athletic enthusiasts and blah blah blah. So Kyrie getting injured, that was like a family member got injured. So anyway, we talked a lot about Kyrie, but you know, this is how the question from, you know, NBA questions kind of translated, because we talk about, like I said, in the Constitution book. And if you don't have the Constitution book is like our reference manual for nutrition, food, cheat codes, herbs, supplements. Like, you have to have the Constitution book, right? So we're pretty thorough in terms of like breaking down the key cheat codes to build your diet, your routine, your must-haves, like all of those things around. Okay, now, fast forward the naturopathy course, right? Particularly the Legend of Wuxia book. Obviously, we're going through anatomy, right? We're going to talk about, now here's where it translates, because I know y'all might think I'm all over the place so far, but trust me, arthritis, the NBA injuries, vitamin D, right? All of these things are related, and they're all related to one specific aspect of your anatomy that we're going to talk about today, right? Or at least primarily. We'll probably be all over the place, but we're going to try to stay focused as much as possible on joints, right? Rolling joints. Listen, I got pink lips, so if I say rolling joints, Don't judge me, okay? Because I'm not talking about actually rolling joints or blunts or, you know, I got pink lips. Okay, I have retired from the purple lip gang. So I'm not a part of the purple lip gang. I've been out of the purple lip gang for quite some time. But I realized that we did need to have more of a conversation. Right? Especially coming on the heels, of the Blue Magic book. Right? We got the blue book floating around. Right? Shout out to everybody supporting the blue book. Shout out to everybody supporting the red book. Right? We got the blue book drop, the red book drop. Right? So if you don't have those, you kind of need to, yeah. Right? But some key things, right? This guy. Now, once I start, for those of you that are listening and you can't see, collagen, right? Once I start delving deeper, right? Because, you know, I be focused on Bron. I'm watching LeBron. Listen, I'm watching LeBron. I'm focused on Bron. Shout out to Kyrie. You know, I played basketball in Mitchell projects and Patterson projects and My Haven projects, you know, where you know, I got a chance to see Rod Strickland, you know, get some tips as a little kid from Rod Strickland. Rod Strickland comes back to the neighborhood and he does. I don't know if he still does it, but I know when I was a kid, when I was a child, Rod Strickland did tournaments in the projects. I didn't live in the projects over there. My grandma was over, my adopted grandma anyway, Patterson projects. But yeah, he used to throw tournaments over there, Mitchell projects. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Mitchell projects. But so, you know, so that's my connection to Kyrie. You know what I'm saying? I know the family tree that he comes from. You know, his uncle's Rod Strickland, and Rod Strickland is a real one. You know what I'm saying? Every summer, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what all NBA players do, but I know Rod Strickland came back to anyway. So what made it more of a conversation is these guys are getting what's called non-contact injuries, right? Non-contact injuries, meaning nobody's touching you. Like AD literally did like this and then went down. He literally spread his legs and went down, right? So that's a non-contact energy. So from there, I start typing. I find out. I'm like, let me just do the math. You know, scratch a lie, find a thief. Let me look and see what's actually going on. Come to find out, joint pain is becoming more of an epidemic than diabetes. In fact, joint pain and diabetes goes hand in hand. So that's a part of the three-headed monster now. So now whenever they mention diabetes, high blood pressure, and obesity, joint pain will be a part of that collective because joint pain is where they're getting the money, right? So it's not even really an athlete conversation, right? So the athlete part of it, you know, is what created the conversation in the Patreon. And then Chase, you know, Kyrie get injured. You know, he act like the world, like the president got shot. You know what I'm saying? He act like the world, you know, like So, but the numbers on joint pain. So in case you don't know, if you have neck issues, right, which we talk about in the book, right? The Comedic Naturopathy book, we talk about posture, right? We talk about lower back pain, right? All of those things are a part of the joint issues, right? The frozen shoulder syndrome, or, you know, golfer's elbow, like your elbow, if you're one of those people saying your elbows and your knees is bad, right? You realize this conversation is not about athletes. This is about everybody, because this is what happens, right? This is what happens. So you have blood flow throughout the body, and at these joints, these key locations, like, this is where you can have gout, you know, sediment, you know, there's a lot of things that can contribute to joint pain, right? And the crazy part is that even made it more of a thing more of a thing, right? This was like the icing on the cake, at least for me. You know how my mind works. When I start looking up the information, you know how they do us. You know how they do us. The origins of orthopedic surgery and blah, blah, blah. You know, they go back to England, Germany. I said, all right, okay. So, workbook number, what is that? 12? Workbook number 13. Workbook number 13. We done started a whole new category. Right? Still, based on the original 3 books, right? Based on the original 3 books in the course, we're just further elucidating, because respectfully, the course would be incomplete. And see, that's what maybe some people, shout out to Max again for the feedback. That's what maybe some people may not fully understand with what we're doing. We're creating a course at the same time as we're going through the material. We're building the material. It's like y'all are helping me to build a pyramid right now. Right? This is something never been done before. This never been done before. We're the ancestors are talking and we scribing, putting it together, right? So we couldn't have a complete naturopathy course if we don't talk about, especially not a comedic, if we don't talk about sports and exercise and that aspect of it, the movement, right? Movement, right? We have to have that, because that's where sports originate. That's another thing. So, and I think those 2 things go together. I think those 2 things go together, which is why we have to have a greater conversation on it. Right? The fact that sports originates in Kemet, and the fact that, you know, orthopedic surgery, or what later on became orthopedic surgery, began in Kemet, right? So we had to have that conversation, right? So workbook number 13, 360, right? The 360 series will be primarily on exercise. We're going to have sports, sports therapy, rehab, physical therapy will be in there primarily, right? Sports, physical therapy, joint health, right? All of those things, right? All of those things, because that's like the largest threat to your mobility. That's the largest threat to your mobility. Like right now, they're doing this test. They're doing this test of you getting off of the toilet. They're doing this test right now of you getting off the toilet. How much muscle recruitment is required for you to get off the toilet? That's how you can tell how in shape you are. Yeah, I kid you not. Like, this is a real thing. And I don't know who you are or how old you are, right? But for some of y'all, that's going to hit different. Yeah, for some of y'all, that's going to hit different. For some of y'all, when I say how much muscles you recruit throughout your body to get off the toilet, to stand up, for some of y'all, you're going to be like, oh, that's nothing. I don't use no muscles. So for those of you that think you don't use any muscles to stand up from off the toilet, that means you're in pretty decent shape. You're in good shape or decent shape. But for some of y'all that's, you struggling, or you sitting on the toilet and then you gotta like, you using the sink to prop. Yeah, wait. If you can't do this right here, right? If you can't just squat and hold it for a second, right? You in trouble, right? You in trouble, because this is a crucial part of your anatomy. So we named the books 360, right? 360 sports articulations, right? 360 sports articulations, right? Because why not? No, because sport, right? Movement, right? Vibing, moving, right? We talk a lot about movement, exercise, but the articulation part, I don't know. I guess the troublemaker in me chose that. Right? Troublemaker in me, right? Because again, the world, academia, they ridiculed Kemet and ridiculed anybody that believed in Kemetic ideology, because they said Kemetic science is mythology and foolishness. And they used as a primary example to double down on their point that the ancient Egyptians believed that the metu, or that the vessels in the body, spoke. And clearly we know that the vessels in the body don't speak, so that's stupid. Why would they say that only to find out that the Greco-Romans that put out the disinformation, well, they turned around and named joints articulations. So joints are articulations. Joints are articulation. So articulate, means to speak, to express yourself, but it also means your joints, right? It also means your joints. And it comes from that root of Kemetic science, of metu, of vessels, speaking, communicating, right? So the biggest expression comes from MechanoTransduction. So I know you see the title of the video. That's how we get to the title of the video. MechanoTransduction. That is the word of the day, even if we never say it again. MechanoTransduction. Right? I ran out of space right there, but that's a T-I-O-N. Don't judge me over there. Okay, MechanoTransduction. Right? And that's basically what we say about God. What we say about God. God is music, right? God is what? Electromagnetic waves and mechanical waves, right? MechanoTransduction is basically just to make it simple, mechanical wave conversion. Mechanical wave conversion. And this winds up being the most important part to your joint health. Like literally, it could just be, the whole book could just be one page. It could just be one page, right? Mechanical wave conversion, right? Mechanical wave conversion. And we have a book dedicated to that, right? If you don't have the piezoelectrochemistry book, go to Amazon right now, get the piezoelectrochemistry book, and drop that into your cart. Drop the piezoelectrochemistry book in your cart. Also drop in your cart Melanin vs. Diabetes Book 2. Right? If you don't have those books, go drop those books in your cart. Right? All right. Now, in the Kemetic Naturopathy book, we talk about joints kind of like all throughout the book. But there's like an interesting passage. There's an interesting passage I just want to talk to you about because I feel like it sums up. It sums up a good, important bit of the science. Come on now. Come on now. That's why humans who won't speak with their body. Come on now. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about right there. Hold on. Let's try to get Freddie together. All right, so that's what I'm talking about. All right. Wait, what is this new thing that's on the StreamYard? It's some beta. What is this thing? So if I add people to the show, that's interesting. We got to start bringing people back on. We got to do our book club thing again. We got to get back into our book club. Okay, so here's the passage, right? On page 412, we're in the Legend of Wuxia book, right? The Comedic Naturopathy course. On page 412, it says, what binary electrical signals? Okay, look. Information is stored in magnetic fields. Magnetic fields generate electric fields. Electricity, like light, can be used for power or information. When a magnetic field creates a flow of electricity, what information is being carried by that electricity? Right? So we learn in basic science that a magnetic field generates an electric current, right? Or an electric current can create a magnetic field. What we're not being taught in that space is that the magnet, so when you have, this is the difference between the two, right? The two processes. It's just one and the other, they just happen in reverse. It's the same thing, but in reverse, right? So what happens is when you have an electric current, right, or you have charged particles moving, et cetera, that is creating information. So when that charge creates its magnetic field, what's happening is the information from that charge is being stored in that magnetic field. So on the flip side, when you have a magnetic field creating a current, that current is carrying the information from that magnetic field. That's an important part of this story. That's an important part of this story because that tells your bones everything. See, this is what we get to in the piezoelectrochemistry book, right? So if you don't have that, you're going to need to add that. You're going to need to put that in your cart and grab that from Amazon, right? So in real time, you got to remember your bones are piezoelectric. Right? So what does that mean? That your bones are piezoelectric. It means that magnetic field, electricity, magnetic field, electricity. Right? Now, what certain crystals can do, crystals can take pressure and turn that into information. Turns that into information, right? Creates a binary code based electric signal. Now, MechanoTransduction is how your body takes those signals and turns those signals into cytokines, myokines, chemokines, hormones, etc. Right? The information carrier, neurotransmitters, even like the information and the information carriers that you're used to. Right? This is upstream. This is upstream. This is on not to sound cliche, but this is a higher level, right? This is on a higher level, right? So this is the nature of life. This is how electromagnetism becomes biology. This is how electromagnetism governs biochemistry, right? And so this even, right, it's in divine order with coming off our discussion of artificial intelligence, because the more we rely on the computers and technology, the less physical movement we have. The less physical movement we have, the less emotional movement we have, and the less mental movement we have. And movement is life. If you live in a place with trees, right? If you live in a place with trees, and this is kind of crazy, but if you live in a place with trees, right, you know that the wind knocks down like dead branches, like branches that come off the trees when you get a strong wind, right? But at the same time, we don't really know the reason why some branches, like, so we assume they're dead branches because we see them on the floor. So we assume, okay, the wind blew the dead branches off, or the weak branches. But we don't really know what made them weak. It was lack of exercise, right? Trees got to get exercise too. Hold on, Doc. You're bugging. Trees have roots. So yeah, they can't get exercise. Yeah, they do. They get exercise from the wind. So depending on the structure of the branches, some are protected from wind. The ones that get protected from the wind are the ones that wind up weak. Those are the ones that when the wind really get to blowing, they break off and fall because they don't have the movement. And when wind blows on trees, guess what? Just like your body, when you use your body, when you work it out, your body builds up the strength. So the branches that's always blowing in the wind, they get stronger. I'm just trying to explain to you that this is just the nature of how, this is the nature of nature. This is the nature of nature, right? The nature of nature. You have to go through something to get stronger, right? Stress. Stress is not the enemy, right? It's hormesis training. It's still hormesis training. Like, don't get away from those core concepts that we have. Where is Osborne? I ain't seen Osborne. Where is Osborne? I miss Osborne. So when I say hormesis training, I immediately think Osborne. So anyway, all of these things are related. So electromagnetism, mechanical waves, electromagnetic waves rather, and mechanical waves, they translate directly to biology, biochemistry, right? MechanoTransduction is that step. Collagen is the key material in your body for all of the piezoelectric crystals. But the thing is, you can nutrition yourself to death. It doesn't matter if you don't have the signals. If you don't have the signals. And this is why it's taught that you have 360 joints in your body. It's taught that you have 360 joints in your body. just like days of the week. I mean, days of the year. 360 days, 360 joints. It's not taught that you have 360 joints because it's absolutely, cross every T, dot every I, exact, exact, right? But it works for teaching purposes and understanding purposes because you have to work every joint every day. You have to work every joint every day, right? Every joint every day, right? You have to roll them joints every day. You got to roll them joints every day, right? You got to roll them joints every day. So what we're going to wind up doing we may even need to come up with a name for this. I'm trying to remind myself. We may need to come up with a name for this. Yeah, let me type this up. I will forget it if I don't type this in. Yo, I'm out here book writing with my kids, man. For real. We still writing till Ra come up, drinking Moors till Ra go down. It's a cold winter. Y'all netches better bundle up. Hit AmericanHealer.com website to eat that jungle stuff. Order now, listen up. Don't you know school whole purpose is to dumb us down and then hide the key? So without this book script, my kids ain't got no way to think, huh? I still try to keep y'all from wowing, cause when the scribes stop clerking, the frauds start lurking, Egyptologists are smirking. If you from the nest, I know you feel me, keep working. Out the Bronx with this house of consciousness, math is the cure to illiterate obnoxiousness. You can't box with this, I can't be stopped with this. Ooh, we still writing till Ra come up. All right. So hold on. Let me go back to the passage I was reading. Right? I said, what binary we're on page 412 in the Comedic Naturopathy book. What binary electric signals? Okay, look, information is stored in magnetic fields. Magnetic fields generate electric fields. Electricity, like light, can be used for power or information. When a magnetic field creates a flow of electricity, what information is being carried by that electricity? Here is a better question. What stimulates the information in the human body's magnetic fields to flow? Right? What stimulates the information stored in your magnetic fields to flow? How do you make the tree of life talk? How do you get the spirit of Geb to talk? If the soul of Wusia is Horus, the soul of Geb is, right? These are questions to stimulate your mind. Okay, skip down. Collagen is the most abundant protein in your body. Collagen is the primary building block of your body's skin, muscles, bones, tendons, and ligaments, and other connective tissues. As a Mason, you must consider bone as a smart material, right? A smart material. Yeah, if you have some If you have a highlighter, we on page 413. You might want to highlight that right there. You want to highlight that. Bone as smart material, like you got smartphones and smart cars and smart speakers and head. Smart material. It adjusts its mechanical properties in response to external loads. Your bone is constantly adjusting its density so your bones are constantly doing what? In communication. Your bones are constantly articulating. There's a constant dialogue that never stops. It never stops. Right? And when the MechanoTransduction, which is the creation of information, right? When the conversation gets light, when the conversation goes down, right? When it gets down to a whisper, right? The collagen cross-links. So in the collagen, it's like braided material. The amino acids are like braided together. That's how you get the strength in a tissue. That's how you get the strength of your bone in the tissue, because they're cross-linked together. The amount of cross-links and the strength and integrity of the cross-links goes down, right? Without constant pressure. Mechanical waves. It just comes from moving, right? It just comes from rolling your joints, right? Rolling your joints. Like EnQi, stop saying rolling joints. That's what it is. Right? So, to complete this daily task that is never complete, it's an ongoing building task. It's an ongoing building project until you lay down for the last time. Bone remodels its internal architecture and composition by replacing old bone with new bone. The newly formed bone matrix consists of soft type 1 collagen reinforced by accumulating amorphous calcium phosphate minerals from extracellular fluid, right? Okay, stop right there. Already we're giving away jewels and cheat codes, right? We already giving away jewels and cheat codes. Calcium phosphate, right? Calcium phosphate. That's one right there. Calcium phosphate. Now, how do you build calcium phosphate? Right? AD and Kyrie need to watch this video. So if you know AD and Kyrie, you might need to send them over here so they can watch this video. Yeah, send AD and Kyrie over here to watch this video. How do you build calcium phosphate? Right? How do you build calcium phosphate? Let's put the brakes on it right there. Calcium phosphate. How do you build calcium phosphate? We're on page 413. Right? Here we go. You drinking more? How do you build calcium phosphate? Okay. How do you build calcium phosphate in the bones? right? Right? So this obviously calcium, phosphorus, right? This that blue magic. This that blue magic portion of the video. So stop here and go to AmericanHealer.website and order your blue magic now, right? But when you go through the world of algae, Chondrus crispus, right? Chondrus crispus is the richest in phosphorus. In biology, phosphorus is gold. Phosphorus is the light bearer. Phosphorus is the light bearer, and phosphorus is the thing that there's not enough of on Earth. So you know how De Beers, like the diamond people, is that De Beers? I think it's De Beers. But you know how they faked like diamonds was rare, and then like 20 years ago we found out diamonds wasn't rare, but they faked like diamonds was rare so diamonds could become mad expensive, but really diamonds is like everywhere. It just depends on what part of Earth you're on. Well, phosphorus is not fake. Phosphorus is rare. Phosphorus is rare. There's not enough, and have patience with me. Then let me explain to you what I mean by rare. There's not enough phosphorus on Earth for all of the life forms on Earth. It's not enough, right? So if you think about all of the humans, the elephants, gorillas, the goldfish, the sharks, the dolphins, the bumblebees, the flies, the wasp, the snake, the slug, I don't know, all kind of animals, every different living thing, the single cell organisms, the sludge, the bacteria, the fungus, the mushroom, the whatever, the yeast, everything, all living everythings, they all require ATP. They all require ATP. And the bigger the organism is, the more phosphorus it needs, right? Because not only do you get bigger, you need more phosphorus because you have more cells, but then also you need more types of phosphorus, right? So you not only need ATP, but phosphorus also makes up the backbone of your DNA. Like, so, you know, like DNA, like when they show it to you, it's like a ladder, kind of, when it unwinds anyway. Right? This right here is phosphorus. The part that's holding the ladder together. Right? So all of your DNA, think about how much DNA you got. They say if you unravel your DNA, it goes back and forth to the sun like a zillion times or whatever. Right? Or it can wrap around the earth a zillion times, whatever the number is. You got a lot of DNA, right? That's phosphorus, right? Then you have ATP for all of the cells to do their thing. But then your nerves and your neurons, they require GTP, which is like a very exclusive type of ATP. It's almost like ATP is like beer, and then GTP is like champagne, right? So, yeah, think of it that way, right? So, and you need, you know, overall, you need your body weight. Yeah, you need your body weight. This is where mitochondria come into the picture, right? This is how the relationship of mitochondria formed in the first place, right? Because there's not enough phosphorus. So mitochondria came to the rescue, right? Or really, this is one of those things that, like how I was saying, proof of God being real, right? Proof of God being real. Life couldn't exist without mitochondria forming their relationship with cells. If mitochondria, like Adam and Eve, if mitochondria doesn't fall in love with single cells, no life can exist, because mitochondria is what recycles the phosphorus, right? Mitochondria and creatine work together to recycle your phosphorus, right? So anyway, phosphorus is gold, right? You have to have phosphorus, right? So now we can add that to the list. It's DNA, it's energy, blah, blah, blah. Or it carries energy, is used to make energy, whatever the case may be, right? But then also we know it's a part of your bones, right? We know it's a part of your bones. So calcium phosphate, you need that phosphorus, right? And then you need calcium. Now, the other thing you need is vitamin D, right? Because vitamin D is the thing that tells your body to create calcium phosphate. So when you hear the conversation about when they say, oh yeah, well, you need the vitamin D so you can absorb calcium, what they mean is, because you're not like getting rid of it. When you think of absorb, something disappears. It's not disappearing. You're creating calcium phosphate in the bone. You're creating calcium phosphate in the bone. So it's literally like a mason building up a building brick by brick or stone by stone or oblong square by oblong square, right? And right here, you have the unification of light, electricity, and magnetism, right? I erased it, but remember we had on there electricity and magnetism by MechanoTransduction become the signals that tells your bone whether to build or not, right? Now you have light. Now you have light being added to electricity and magnetism as the other signal in terms of creating the construction material, right? So this is a conversation. This is a three-way, this is actually a four-way conversation because you can't forget sound, right? Mechanical waves, right? Electricity, magnetism, that's your electromagnetic waves. Mechanical waves, those are pressure waves, that's sound. And then light, right? And we know because we all have the photochemistry book, right? We all have the photochemistry book, right? Okay, if you don't have the photochemistry book, you know the procedure. Go to Amazon, put the photochemistry book in your cart, get the photochemistry book, right? Because we know that vitamin D in the skin, melanin, right? That vitamin D is going to be used to do what? That aromatic ring in cholesterol, those aromatic rings in cholesterol, right? And what do we talk about in the Black Lives Matter book? See, we all know, this is why you got to have all these books. Some of y'all behind, right? But this over here is where we get into our Star of David. We get into our Star of David, right? Our Star of David, right? The center of the Star of David. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. right? So we take off the triangles. Isn't it funny how trigonometry pop up everywhere, the study of triangles? We take off our triangles, our little triangles, we just left with this hexagon right here, right? The hexagon winds up being the other main ingredient. It's the shape, the geometry that's based on water, right? This is how light, this is the light story, right? These are aromatic rings. Right? These are aromatic rings. And so when we go through the Black Lines Matter book in our electrician manual series, if you don't have that book, go to Amazon and add it to your cart. Black Lines Matter, right? In chemistry, black lines represent what? Right? You got to get back to that. Your carbon, your electron movement, right? So in these aromatic rings, we know we have this cyclical movement of electrons, right? And so when you go through the books, in the back of the workbooks, you see there's a conversion chart from the electromagnetic waves, right? There's a conversion chart where we break down the kinetic electron value for each aspect, right? It's these aromatic rings that's doing that conversion from light to electricity. You have it built all throughout your biology, all throughout your body, the hormones, your pigments, everything loaded with these aromatic rings. And the reason how they're able to do that is because of their shape. That hexagon, right? Because of that hexagon, right? So that pops up as a repetitive motif. That hexagon is a repetitive motif, right? So when we talk about the hexagon, remember, that takes us back to the second book in the course, which is trigonometry, right? The trigonometry book, the sacred science of the Jews. If you don't have the trigonometry book, go to Amazon, add that to your cart, right? Okay. So, calcium phosphate, though. Right? You obviously have to have it in your nutrition, right? Blue magic, right? Phosphorus, calcium, greens. So if you're still following the program from what? The Skintology books. Remember when we dropped the Skintology, listen, we dropped a lot of books. I'm sorry if I keep saying different, if I keep naming them, I apologize that I keep telling y'all about different books, but you had to know this was coming because this is what we've been doing. Right? So we have a Skintology series. It's the kitchen chemistry book, right? The kitchen chemistry book, the autodidact book, and the orthorexia book, right? You need those books. Let me see if we can show them both. Let me see. Is that these books right here? Let me see. Yeah, see, that's one of them right there.
The gods have blessed us. We must act now. We must act now to save us, to save our souls.
Okay, so what we talked about, remember, we did the Green Man Challenge, or we started the Green Man Challenge, right? 10K a day, hashtag 10K a day. Remember that? Okay, if you don't remember that, the goal was to get 10,000 units a day, 10,000 units a day of vitamin A. And the challenge was to do that with greens, sweet potatoes, mangoes. I forgot all of the foods in the list, but if you have those books, open those books back up. The list is in there, right? The reason why I'm saying that is because vitamin A is coupled with calcium. So if you're getting in your 10K a day of vitamin A, then you have no shortage of calcium. You have no shortage of calcium. Certain minerals and vitamins have relationships. Calcium and vitamin A have a relationship. So almost every single vegetable or fruit that's high in calcium is going to be high in vitamin A and vice versa. Yeah, they have Love Jones. Yeah, Love Jones. They got a thing going on. Right? Okay. So calcium, phosphorus, get it in your body. Vitamin D, get it in there. It's going to send the signal. Thyroid, parathyroid. Right? Like, wait a minute. Your thyroid ain't got nothing to do with this. Your thyroid has something to do with you metabolizing everything you metabolize. Right? But your parathyroid is the main star of the show. So your thyroid overall metabolism, but then for this specific function, the Netchers created you a unit. You got a unit just for this. Think about how important that is, that you have a unit in your body just for this. So you have a organ, you got a sports nutrition, you got a sports medicine organ, right? You got a sports nutrition organ. That's another bar. I got to write that down. That's kind of epic right there. Yeah, that's kind of epic right there. We got to write that down. That's a bar right there. Yo, I'm out here book writing with my kids, man. For real. We still writing till Rock come up, drinking Moors till Rock go down. It's a co-winner. Y'all Netchers better bundle up. Hit American Healer. Website to eat that jungle stuff. Order now, listen up. Don't you know school whole purpose is to dumb us down and then hide the key? So without this book script, my kids ain't got no way to think, huh? I still try to keep y'all from wowing, cause when the scribes stop clerking, the frauds start lurking, Egyptologists are smirking. If you from the nest, I know you feel me. Keep working. Out the Bronx with this house of consciousness. Math is the cure to illiterate obnoxiousness. You can't box with this, can't be stopped with this. Ooh. We still writing too. Rod, come up. Shout out to Philly. All right, so back to page 413, right? Calcium phosphate, minerals from the extra, let me bring it back. To complete these daily tasks, we're talking about, remember, we're talking about the bone remodeling itself based on the pressure waves that you send to your bones, right? The pressure waves you send to your bones. This includes your tendons, your ligaments, your synovial fluid. Everything is a part of this. So don't think that this here is how the whole system works. So the fluid in the joints, the whole system works by pressure waves, right? If you don't use it, you lose it, right? If you don't need it, you bleed it. It's over, right? To complete this daily task, which is never complete, it's an ongoing building project until you lay down for the last time. Bone remodels itself, its internal architecture and composition by replacing old bone with new bone. The newly formed bone matrix mainly consists of soft type 1 collagen reinforced by accumulating amorphous calcium phosphate. Oh, that's the other part. The collagen. We erased the collagen part, right? But the collagen, the main thing is proline, right? Proline, glycine, lysine, vitamin C. Those are the other parts, but we'll get to that at some point, right? Vitamin C and lysine. Vitamin C and lysine, right? Even without the glycine, the proline, the hydroxyproline, forget about those. Lysine and vitamin C. Those two things, because remember, this is an ongoing project of breaking down and rebuilding, So you always have fresh material to some extent because your body is breaking down material that's there. It's like you got two sets of construction workers at work on the same building project at the same time. So you got these guys right here breaking brick down and cleaning off the brick. And then you got these other guys right here next to them taking the clean bricks that they just broke down and rebuilding the bone. So as they rebuilding it, these guys right here are breaking it down. Right? Very similar to the guy that stole the fire with the bird pecking him, but they keep bringing him back to life as they killing him. While anyway. All right. All right. The cells that's regulating this process are called chondrocytes, right? Which again brings us back to chondrus crispus, right? Go to AmericanHealer.website and order your blue magic now. These are the kind of answers that you get on the internet. The piezoelectric nature of collagen-rich tissues has been known for some time, yet the role of collagen piezoelectricity in the body has remained elusive. That is how you know this is God-given from hard living in God's kitchen. I'm talking about me and the information. Yeah, I don't know. I just have to put that in there. The bone must constantly calibrate itself because it is a pressure scale. Just like the scale you get on to weigh yourself, the scale in your bathroom, all of the piezoelectric material in your body are and make the magnetic fields spit out that stored information. Right? So we're talking about how do we get the magnetic fields to talk, right? We're talking about articulation. Skip to the third paragraph. And the question is, can you see trigonometry in this? Can you see the trigonometry in there? Right? Because remember, we went through the basic trigonometry in the trigonometry book, right? And once you get through the basic part of the math, it becomes what? Page 414. No, this is what you were supposed to answer. That's what you were supposed to answer. It becomes what? Input, function, output. Input, function, output. That's trigonometry, but that's also how your bones stay healthy. That's how your joints stay healthy. That is the secret. Listen, this should go viral. 1 million people should see this because 1 million people want to know how LeBron is doing what he's doing at 40. I'm giving y'all the secret. Input, function, output. Input, function, output. That's how LeBron is doing what he's doing at this level. Because your body is designed in such a way. This is the most important jewel. We're going to keep going, but this you need this. Body is designed in such a way right? Think about what I'm saying to you. MechanoTransduction. Input, function, output. You don't have the trigonometry book, go to Amazon and put that in your cart. And stop saying to yourself, where is EnQi? Why is EnQi not on YouTube more? What you should be saying is, thank God EnQi is not on YouTube more, because now I have more time to read all these books. Yeah. And then you're supposed to be sending me some cash apps every so, you know what I mean? So I can keep the. So, input, function, output. Input, function, output. Input, function, output. Right? Input, function, output. It becomes a scale. It's a scale. Remember, we talked about this, right? We talked about your the weighing of the heart scene. Right? We spent a lot of time on that because it's got so much information encoded in it. Right? The weighing of the heart ceremony, the weighing of the heart scene, right? And the ceremony, the story is a lot larger than just the scene. We know the main scene is like blazed in our minds now, right? With the scale, feather on one side, heart on the other side, right? There's a lot there, right? We know the feather is electricity, the heart is magnetism. So we know electromagnetism is being communicated to us. But what's less apparent is that your body is symbolic of the scale itself. Right? The scale itself represents your human body, because your human body is what? It is a system of levers. The human body is a system of levers, right? That's what your joints all facilitate. When people were saying life is movement, you got to think about
What is the thing that allows you to have movement? The thing that allows you to have movement is your joints. This is why this conversation is so important, because everybody's having joint pain. And more people are having joint pain. People are having joint pain at, like, kids got joint pain. Children are having joint pain. Right? So joint pain is something that is even low-key a bigger problem than diabetes. But the thing is, people don't die from joint pain. So joint pain is this crazy money grab. Joint pain is the craziest money grab going on that nobody's discussing. And now we on the case. You know, we getting ready to, we getting ready to put it to rest. If we can tackle diabetes, if we can tackle heart disease, if we can tackle heart disease, we on joint pain. We got this. We got this. But low key, it's a bigger money grab than everything. People have I ain't gonna say there's no fear of joint pain, but joint pain does not command the same fear as cancer. Like, you say cancer, it's like dun dun dun. Even though people develop cancer cells in their body every day. From the time you're a child, you're developing cancer cells every single day in your body. Right? But joint pain, we just, but joint pain that's a bag. It's a bag. And not only is it a bag, but it's taught backwards. Just like everything else, because you get to the real, it'll lighten that bag. Right? So you can't get the truth, because the truth will set you free. Right? So we get into the truth. We're going to get to the truth. Yeah, we're going to get to it. We're going to get to it. You know what I'm saying? But this here becomes a scale. And this is the reason why LeBron is doing what he's doing so well at his age. LeBron has a saying: keep the main thing the main thing. Keep the main thing the main thing. The main thing is the function. The main thing is the function. Here's the distractions, right? Exercise. Remember, bodybuilders, athletes, the people with the six-pack and the flat, they got joint pain too. So it's not like because you can do 1,000 push-ups that you not, you know, you can bench press 300 pounds, you're not having joint pain. No, this is why when you see them, they got their wrists, their elbows wrapped up, and their shoulders. Oh yeah, their shoulders going through it. They. So we get distracted here. Input. We get distracted here, and you got 1,000, not even 1,000. You got a bazillion videos on YouTube right here. You got a bazillion videos on YouTube right here. Exercise. And the solution is, oh my God. You got guys like Jeff something. I forgot his name. But he comes with all of the scientific exercise programs. Then you got guys with the with the parks, you know, they're like, oh no, you got to be with the natural, you know, in nature, boo boo. So they telling you that. Then you got folks. I mean, it's just so many different aspects of the spectrum on exercise, and exercise not it, right? So exercise, then you got the other folks come in. It's nutrition. It's nutrition. You need to have boswellia. Yeah, boswellia and turmeric is the key to managing your joint pain. Managing? Yeah, see, I don't want to manage my joint pain. Respectfully. I want to get rid of my joint pain. I don't want to manage it. Like, I don't want to keep it around and pay it 10%. You know, a manager, yeah, a manager got to stay around and get a percent of everything. You know what I'm saying? You got to give your manager 10, 20, 15%, something. Nah, I don't want to pay we good. I don't want to pay no attention, right? I don't want no attention going to joint pain. I want to get rid of joint pain, right? So management is a short-term thing. I want to manage it in the short term, but I want to manage it till I get rid of it, right? So exercise and nutrition, billions of videos. Function, output is where the problem is. Pain. So on the other side, right? So on the other side of the input, exercise, nutrition is the pain, and you're going to get two things here: rest and drugs, right? Rest and drugs, painkillers, right? You're going to get rest and drugs, painkillers, right? And this is such a money grab that literally heroin is legal. Literally, heroin is legal. The only reason why on TV, you're not hearing about an opioid crisis is because they changed the language. That's all they do, is change the language so that the news has a different focal point. But the opioid crisis is still going on. Right now, they're talking about trying to find the dudes that shot the guy and his baby at the car wash, right? So if you're not paying attention, right, to what's going on in the world, you will hear that story, and then you go, oh my God, yeah, they got to stop the gun violence. See how they do that? The gun violence, because that's the narrative they want to put you to. So you have Democrat, it's always politics. Don't think it's me, like, oh, EnQi is with the Republicans, so, you know, he going to hate on the Democrat. No, listen. You have Republican, Democrat. You got conservative and liberal news outlets. They create narratives, right? When a thing happens, right? Listen to how this goes. A thing happens, right? A thing happens, and that thing can attract attention. Remember, they monetize and harvest your attention, right? So a thing happens that will attract your attention, right? And so people go, oh, great. I can put this on my platform and harvest your attention. So I'm going to package this with and around the thing, right? So if the narrative that they're trying to feed you, once they get your attention, is gun this or black thugs or whatever they're trying to package, that's how they do that. But if you understand what's going on in the world, remember, my brother just died from opioids. So this is a real issue for me, right? You don't have guys jumping out in broad day, shooting babies if they're not a part of the opioid crisis. That's what this is about. This is about people addicted to opioids, selling opioids, and competition. So this is a rapper. No. This is opioid movement. This is opioid movement. This is opioid addiction. This is dehumanization. This is lack of empathy. This is all a part of this. So I just want y'all to understand that when we're talking about, we might be talking about something way down here in the grand scale of things, but don't think that what we're talking about is not attached to the grand scale of things. Because this is how the bag moves with pain management. This is how the bag moves with pain management, because when people have injuries, they start out getting prescriptions, and then at some point they can no longer get those prescriptions, and now they're getting those same drugs, any way they can. They're getting them any way they can. And I was just deep diving into Chase and Caleb's playlist. I went through their playlist. All of the new rappers, they got styrofoam cups. So heroin is the new weed. Like, it's not even a new weed. Heroin is the new cigarette. Like it's like back in the days, you had to have a cigarette to be a tough guy. And I'm saying back in the days, you know what I'm saying? John Wayne and them started it, with the cowboys had cigarettes. Even on the Marlboro cigarettes was a cowboy. Like this is just a par for the course now. You have to have your heroin. Like, that's a part of the program. So if you're on the street, you in any capacity, your styrofoam cup, so you can't say to yourself, what type of people shoot babies in the broad daylight? Heroin addicts are zombies. When you watch zombie movies and you literally watching the zombies like eating brains and going crazy, like, heroin makes real-time golems. Real-time golems, mindless zombies that are looking to trample and kill anything they come across. Only facts, right? Only facts. So the story, oh my God, 5-year-old girl gets shot. Boom, that's going to attract attention. Now we can package that and put a narrative with that any kind of way we want. So we can go, oh yeah, we need to get the rappers off the street. So there are some news outlets and platforms that's packaging that. Oh, he's a rapper and those were rappers. These are rival rappers. You gotta relax. Then some people, oh, this is gang violence. They got guns, gang violence. That's not that. That has nothing to do with gang. That's zombies. That's real life, like NPC. These are NPCs out here. These are golems, right? I'm trying to communicate. I don't know who's watching, so I'm giving you the language that heroin creates NPCs. If you don't know what an NPC is, I had to have the boys explain it to me. But when you're playing a video game, the characters in the game that's not real, the zombies, basically the zombies and the not real characters, you're one person. So you have a consciousness that's controlling the character you're controlling, but the characters that's just there, the ones you can shoot or whatever, those are NPCs, like this, the zombies. Okay, zombie, golem, NPC, heroin does that. Right. So We have to get on this. Pain is a thing. Pain is a thing, right? Pain is a thing. And pain is a function of your melanin system. So it is a part of the foundation of what we're doing. We just haven't spent enough time addressing it, but we need to. This is why we have the red book that's out. So if you don't have the red book, let me show you the red book. If you don't have the red book, this is what I'm talking about. This is the red book. No, that's not the red book. This is the red book. This is the red book. So, you know, we try to be as sequential in our conversations as possible, right? So we couldn't really get to this space and focus in on joints and pain management without first getting the details out, right? And that's the red book. And Set is on the cover of the red book because all of this stuff, and going back to Max's comment, Max's feedback the other day, there's so much to unpack. This is it's really it's me and you. It's up to us to do it all because we've had comedic scholars for the last 100 years that haven't touched any of this. It's no Ashwa Kwesi videos on this. You don't have no Dr. Ben videos on this. We have to do all this work ourselves. Hopefully we're making them proud, but we got to do all this. And it's not to denigrate or any way besmudge or belittle the work they did, because if they didn't do what they did, we wouldn't be able to be in this space. But it's so much that civilization left us. It's so much, right? So when we go back to the original story, right? When we go back to the original story of Usia or Osiris, we'll stick with Osiris. We go back to the story of Osiris and Set, right? We have to remember that the Kemetic science was taught in stories. We have to remember that, right? So they were teaching genetics. They were teaching genetics. We just didn't understand that. Not only was it genetics, but it was psychology. It was really like biopsychology. The story of Osiris and Set, right? Because Set is the red-yellow guy. Set is the red-yellow guy. Osiris is the green-black guy, right? Osiris is normal. Set is not. I'm just dumbing it all the way down and make it super simple so we can get back to what we're on, right? But again, if you don't have this book, go to Amazon and put this in your cart and get this book, right? You need this in your library. So what the communication is that Set is abnormal. Set is abnormal, and this is from a genetic mutation. This is from a genetic mutation. Now, this would be purely mythological, purely fantastical if we didn't know that this was actually factual today. right? Or at least that's how modern science teaches us today, right? That a mutation in our POMC melanocortin genes causes the pheomelanin overproduction, and that is where you get the reds and the yellows, or the high concentration of red and yellow, right? So much so that the same way dark-skinned people have more bone density. So when you get an x-ray, the darker you are, the more they got to turn up the x-ray. But the same thing on another spectrum with redhead people. People with red hair. People with red hair have a specific mutation. So I know if you came up listening to Elijah Muhammad and, you know, the militant black conversation, you know, or even the militant Jewish conversation, right? Your thing is blonde hair, blue eyes, right? But that's not exactly the quote unquote description of the devil, right? The description of the devil is red, right? And it goes back to Set, it goes back to genetic mutation, it goes back to pain, eternal pain, right? Well, now we know that your melanin controls the reward system in your brain. And it even goes so far that people that have red hair, right? See, this is what I'm saying. Listen, RFK, let me just go back to my man RFK. Y'all don't really understand how much he was cooking. You don't let him cook. Y'all supposed to let RFK cook. RFK was cooking. People that have red hair, they need a different, they have to have a whole different pain management. Like when it comes to drugs respond in people with red hair totally different than everybody else. If you have brown hair, blonde hair, or black hair, forget about your skin. Yeah, forget about your skin. If you have brown, blonde, or black hair, you have a whole different response to pain than people with red hair. Get the book. Just saying. These are only facts. Right? These are only facts. Right? So we had to have these conversations about about pain management, because pain management is driving a big part of like most of the drug business, right? Most of the drug business, right? And going back to our original concept, I know y'all might have got distracted. The Thanos finger snap. We coming back. The reason why LeBron is able to do what he's doing at 40 is because LeBron keeps the main thing the main thing. LeBron doesn't get caught over here. LeBron doesn't get caught over here. He keeps the scale balanced, right? He keeps the scale balanced by not putting too much focus on exercise or nutrition or on pain, which is, managed by, when I say rest, I don't mean sleep. Pain, usually your doctor would tell you to stay off of or stop using whatever that is. So if your elbow hurt, rest your elbow. If you got something going on with your left ankle, stay off your left leg for a little bit, right? Even give you a cane or a crutch or something to take the weight off of the left leg, right? So, or drugs, right? Or a combination of the two, right? Function is the key. Focusing on the function, Focusing on the function, finding the balance. Remember, your bone is breaking down and building up every single day in response to the pressure waves that you send to it, the signal, right? So what does that mean? I'll explain it to you. Let me try to explain it to you with. So every day, y'all know we focus in on, even though we don't say it every time, but I'm assuming y'all getting these books. I'm assuming y'all still in the gold book, like the gold book is the gold standard. So I'm assuming that you living with this gold book, the algorithm book, like them books is by your bedside or in your purse somewhere. I'm assuming you still on the program, right? So I'm assuming that every day you're focused on getting your 10,000 steps in, right? I'm assuming you're focused on getting your 10,000 steps in every day, right? But let's say you're not, right? Or let's say you're not doing your prayers every day, right? 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, right? Say you're not doing your prayers every day. 6, 12, 3, 6, 9, right? Got your prayers laid out for you, right? If you're doing your prayers every day, that means 5 times a day, you're getting in some push-ups, some squats, some jumping jacks, right? 5 times a day, right? But let's say you BSing. You just coming over here watching the video for entertainment value. You ain't really living the lifestyle. Or let's say you off and on with it, right? So let's say, like right now, I'm reminding you, right? So you ain't been walking in a minute, or you ain't been doing your push-ups or whatever in a minute. So now I'm reminding you, right? So now all of a sudden you hit some push-ups. You ain't do no push-ups in 3 months. Now all of a sudden you get ready to jump down and do some push-ups. Oh man, Dad, yeah, I was supposed to be doing the push-ups. I didn't do them. So now you jump down and do some push-ups. Now you just tilted the scale to exercise. You just tilted the scale to exercise because guess what? Your daily normal function does not include exercise. Or at least not those exercises, right? Your daily routine doesn't include that, or not that much of that, right? So now all of a sudden, you done did 20 push-ups. We just you know, you done did 20 push-ups or 20 minutes of exercises, or you ain't been to the gym in 3 months, and now all of a sudden you go back to the gym. So now you spend the hour at the gym. You feeling good about yourself, right? But guess what? Your whole body is out of balance. Your whole body is in a state of emergency. Like, wait, what? Doc, what are you saying? Are you saying exercise is hurting me? Of course I'm saying that. Yeah. And it's not the exercise, it's the routine. It's the lifestyle. It's the fact that you have not incorporated this. See, this is why we have the prayer. If you're doing the prayer, then you're getting a certain minimum amount of exercise throughout your day, all day. So now your body's getting used to a certain amount of pressure waves. Certain signals are being sent, and the way we have the prayer designed, all of your joints are being stimulated, right? We're creating a global conversation. That's why it's 360. That's why the number is 360, even though that might not be all wise, right? And exact, it's 360, right? Because it's square in the circle. You have to do this every day, all day. You got to get all those joints. That's why, well, they don't teach you what I'm teaching you, but when you go through the NASM training, which is like the most official personal trainer thing, or ACSM, or any of these personal trainer companies, or you go to the school or whatever the case may be, or you get a degree in physical therapy or whatever, they would tell you, right, the best types of exercise movements are multi-joint. Multi-joint is better, right? So this is where you get like a pull-up. Pull-up is multiple joints, right? Or even a bench press is multiple joints, right? As opposed to isolating one joint, right? So the more joints that you incorporate into your exercise, the better. Why? Because you have to rotate. You got to roll all them joints. So what you want to do is you have to, now here's the thing. I want to confuse you. That's why I'm trying to take my time with it. You have to exercise every day. But what you have to do is you have to slowly incorporate things into your life, right? And then you have to keep them in your life. You got to keep them in your life because the function is the most important thing. This is going to determine everything. The function determines everything. This is where the information is being generated at. This is where the information is being generated at. So LeBron's cheat code, the reason why LeBron is so healthy right now is because guess what? LeBron didn't take no breaks from the program. He didn't take any breaks from the program, right? All this time that we've been watching LeBron, right? LeBron, like I believe, you know who LeBron probably owe? And yo, man, I'm just thinking of it right now as I'm about to tell y'all. I think I just decoded the LeBron cheat code. Now I already knew the science to it, but I think I just found out where he got it from. Because LeBron always say that he's a Cowboy fan. I didn't even pay no attention to that till right now in this moment. When you go back in the days, you gotta go back in the days. I think it was Emmitt Smith. He had this commercial. And the commercial was like, I just won a Super Bowl. And now I could take a break. And then like 1 second passed by. And then he started exercising again. So basically, no breaks. I'm not taking no breaks. That was the break. That, just won the Super Bowl. Man, I could take a break now. Back to work. That's the cheat code. Whether LeBron got bumped off the playoffs, whether LeBron made it to the finals, whether LeBron won the championship, LeBron never took the summer off. Never. Every year it's the same on his social media. Every year it's the same on his social media. Whether they lose in the playoffs, make it to the championship, win the championship, every year his social media is the same. The only thing different is what we're going to see. So his early joints, and it's always 2 to 3 days. 2 to 3 days he take a break. And then after that, he posting a picture of him doing laps in the swimming pool, or he posting a picture of him jogging, or he posting a picture of him in the gym, or he posting a picture of him doing proprioception work, bands and Bosu balls, and so he's never taken a dip. So he got ma'at, balance. He has balance. Every day he's found the sweet spot, meaning he's built his body, muscle, bone, tendons, joints, to a space where, okay, this is the physical demand that's put on me every day. So my workout is going to be based on that. And we're going to go through that every single day, whether I have a game, whether I don't have a game, whether it's the off season or the on season, whether we just lost, whether we just won, whether the boys just got traded, whether I just got traded. Like, every day is going to be this. So his body never has a yo-yo period where it breaks down beneath the threshold of his daily load. So this is the primary reason why John Q. Public, and I throw myself in there, this is the reason why we get injured. Because we might try to exercise 30 minutes out of a day. And then the rest of the day, you sitting down. You exercise 30 minutes and the rest of the day, you sitting down. Or even worse, you might try to get to the gym 2-3 times a week. The rest of the day, every day, you sitting down. So what you're doing is you're creating a state of pain because exercise and nutrition is your dysfunction. Exercise and nutrition is your state of chaos. You don't live in a constant state of exercise and nutrition. You live in a constant state of poor nutrition and lack of exercise. So when you add exercise in, you're going to have high levels of pain. Now, tendinopathy, tendinitis, tendinosis, right? Now, how does that translate to somebody like Kyrie or somebody like AD? AD is big, pause, he's tall. So they always have, at that height, you're always going to have nerve and circulatory issues, right? Especially when the function is not balanced, right? So you can tell AD is somebody that's spending a lot of time trying to balance his family life with his work life. And you can't do that. Respectfully, you got to get that in when you retire. You got to get that in when you retire. AD problem different than Kyrie problem, right? Kyrie Irving's issue is a combination of two things. Kyrie Irving's issue is a combination of two things. Overuse, and then to some extent misuse, right? Misuse is a bad term. We're going to float that for now, right? But These are very complex moves that, so with the incorporation of European moves into NBA, American basketball, right? There's a lot of complicated moves that we're asking, like especially somebody like Kyrie, not AD. AD is not really a Euro player, right? But Kyrie has greatly incorporated Euro steps and Euro movements into his game. So when you add these movements in that are not natural to how your body, so when you grow up playing basketball, any sport, you're developing strength, you're developing ligament integrity for your specific movements that you do, that you go through. We didn't grow up with that. We didn't grow up Euro stepping. So there's a lot of pressure. So when you add in the overuse, right? Because once they traded Luka, now he's getting overused. Now, this conversation I'm having to Kyrie is equivalent to John Q. Public at home, who may not be exercising at all, and then all of a sudden you hear me say the reminder, and you, oh man, let me jump on my. You're probably going to go into overuse, because if you haven't been exercising in a while and you start exercising, you exercise from memory. You exercise from memory. Everybody don't do the same type of push-ups. People that go to the gym and lift weights, they don't all do the same type of workouts, right? So you go into your comfort place. If you ain't been exercising in a while, you go into your comfort place. You remember what you was doing, so you attempt to go back to that. You attempt to lift them same dumbbell, barbell, same type of push-up, same type of squats or whatever. You attempt to go back to whatever you was doing to some degree. You don't have the same body anymore. Your body completely changes every single day. Every day. Brand new cells, brand new tissues. Like, you literally do not have the same body every day. So your body is being designed every single day based on the function. So if you have a sedentary function, you have a sedentary body design, right? Go back to the story of the 3 pigs. If you're not exercising that much, you have the straw house. So you can't just, right? You can't just go crazy. You can't just go crazy. The wolf gonna blow your house down. Yeah. Right? And when you look at like Kyrie now, and a lot of these players, SGA, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these super finesse players, these high-level finesse players, the Euro movements have added a new dynamic to the game that, like, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Because if you combine that with handles, what you could do with these Euro movements is insane. What you could do with these Euro movements is crazy. But we're not thinking that in some instances, like, look at this little piece of plastic. Look at this little piece of plastic. Something smaller than this. Something smaller than this little piece of plastic. I took this off one of the markers. Something smaller than this little piece of plastic here, right? You're putting all kinds of weight and pressure. Like, you will see them running full speed this way and then pick the ball up and jump over and like hop over onto this one leg. And now all of that torque, all of that force and momentum, those ligaments have to absorb that, right? The ligaments have to absorb that, and the synovial fluid has to buffer that. That's a lot, bro. That's a lot. That's a lot. And then it's not only, one time. They doing that like mad times per game, running up and down, doing it throughout the week in practice. Like, so this is where exercising and working out becomes very, very different from physical therapy, right? Very, very different from physical therapy. So this is why we have, I don't even know if I showed y'all the cover of the book. I don't even know if I showed y'all the cover of the book. Here's the cover of the book, or the first book anyway. So if you don't have that book, make sure you go to Amazon, put that in your book. Because we're going to be going through this, and this is one of the most important aspects of health, joint health. I'm telling you, it's the biggest bag. Pain management, pain pills. It's the biggest bag. If you talk about big pharma, this is the bag. And the reason is because everybody's suffering to some extent. And it's because of this. Right now, we are using the trigonometry, like framework to discuss it. But that's because it's simple and it's easy to understand, right? Your body has to be designed for the daily load that you're going to put on it. Your nutrition has to be designed that way. Your exercise, the exercise has to be built around this. Your exercise routine has to be built in a way to supplement your daily function, your daily workload. And then obviously rest, right? Recovery, right? We want to get rid of the pain and the drugs. So the rest also has to be facilitated around the function. Right? So it's function first. Like, this has always been the main thing. This has always been our main thing, even with, backing up the RFK argument, right? Backing up RFK argument. RFK, like, everybody's different. That's been the blueprint. Because you start with differences and then you get more different from there, right? We start with basic differences in our pigment system, our bone structures, our genetics, single nucleotide polymorphic. Like, we start with differences at birth, but then our lifestyle creates more differences, right? How well have you taken care of yourself? How athletic are you, right? How much fast twitch muscle you got? How much slow twitch muscle you got? How well are you taking care of them? Right? All of those things. What is your daily workload? You don't have a daily workload? Well, we need to create you a daily workload. Right? We need to create you a daily workload, which is our prayer system, which we're late for. So let's get that in real quick. Let's get that in real quick. My bad. My bad. Let's get right to that.
EnQi prayer number 2.
Okay. Let's go.
We give thanks and praise to the Most High God for the divine spark that set our cells into perpetual motion. We give thanks for the magnetism of the Most Holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and caves. We give thanks for the ability to drink clean water every 60 minutes, flooding the river of life. We give thanks that sugar has not covered our ferries and turned them into stone. We give thanks that darkness has not covered the riverbanks with calcium and turned them into stone. We give thanks that anger and fear have not turned our almonds bitter, turning our heart to stone. We give thanks for smooth sailing upstream through the valley of death, through the superior vena cava into the right atrium. We give thanks for smooth sailing around the heart through the corona crown, joining the vortex in the right atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim. We give thanks for the...
Hold up, my bad.
EnQi prayer number 2. We give thanks and praise to the Most High God for the divine spark that set our cells into perpetual motion. We give thanks for the magnetism of the Most Holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and caves. We give thanks for the ability to drink clean water every 60 minutes, flooding the river of life. We give thanks that sugar has not covered our ferries and turned them into stone. We give thanks that darkness has not covered the riverbanks with calcium and turned them into stone. We give thanks that anger and fear have not turned our almonds bitter, turning our heart to stone. We give thanks for smooth sailing upstream through the valley of death, through the superior vena cava into the right atrium. We give thanks for smooth sailing around the heart through the corona crown, joining the vortex in the right atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave, reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway to the vineyard. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate to the vineyard closes. We give thanks to the Most High God that provides the light and our breath, and the light in our breath. We give thanks for the fine olfactory system that makes our grapes ripe with light. We give thanks for the Jed pillar that provides us with a stable fleet of ferry boats to dock in our vineyard. We give thanks for smooth sailing through the pulmonary vein into the storm of the left atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave, reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway into the holy royal arch of the Wa scepter. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate into the holy royal arch of the Wa scepter closes. We give thanks for the magnetism of the most holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and our caves. Amen.
Yeah. Don't forget, we give him thanks for drinking water every 60 minutes. Right? Now, listen, a lot of the principles that we're talking about, right? A lot of the principles, remember, this is Electrician Manual number 4, right? Electrician Manual number 4, right? Freemasonry exposed, right angles, horizontals, and perpendiculars, physics squared, right? If you don't have this book, you need to have this book, right? Add this, go to Amazon, add this to your cart. A lot of these principles is what we're talking about, right? A lot of these principles are what we're talking about. We went through this in the physics book. This is why we built our way up, right? This is why we built our way up. So by the time we start talking about the light as a photo multiplier or photo amplification system, right, it would make sense. Or by the time we start talking about wave oscillation, right? Wave oscillation, going sideways versus up and down, right? Horizontals and perpendiculars, right? By the time we start talking about, right, your horizontals and perpendiculars, right? And what are we talking about? Transverse and longitudinal waves. Transverse, longitudinal. Longitudinal, transverse. Right? EnQi, what are you talking about? Electromagnetic waves, mechanical waves, right? They're opposites, right? From sideways to up and down. Anyway. In this book, it's in a couple of the books, but primarily in this book, what we did was we linked together. So if you have this physics book, if you have the physics book, go ahead and crack that open right now. Go to page 36. It's in a couple of the different books. I just so happen to have this physics book in my hand right now. But we talk about we talk about a flow, right? We talk about a flow. And in that space, we talk about a few things, right? On the one side, we have the anabolic side, and then the other side, we have the catabolic side, right? We have them on both sides. Now, on the anabolic side, we have what? We have glucose, insulin, right? The whole insulin family, insulin-like growth factors, all that, right? You have the mTOR family, right? You got what? Testosterone. You got antioxidants. Right? This on the anabolic side, right? On this side, the catabolic side, you have what? You have AMPK, estrogen, right? Melanin concentrating hormone, right? What else you got? You got your autophagy. And that kind of goes along with oxidation, right? On this side, I could add in melanin stimulating hormone, right? We put them as ops, right? This is on page 36 inside the physics book, right? Freemasonry Exposed Physics Squared, right? This is Electrician Manual number 4, right? And then on the close-up side of anabolics, what do we have over this on this side? Sugar, fat, protein. On the catabolic side, what we got? Water and oxygen, right? So these are going to be the secondary aspects of what happens after mechanotransduction, right? So you're going to have the body converting those electromagnetic waves, those mechanical waves into signals. These are going to be the systems or primary forerunners of systems that are going to carry those signals and put them into action. So when you initiate new movements, or you add new exercises to your program, or you go from 10 reps to 20 reps, or you go from, you've been sedentary, so all of a sudden, you ain't been doing no working out, been cold outside, snow everywhere, so you've been in the house. So all of a sudden now, you ain't been getting your 10,000 steps in. So all of a sudden now, oh man, I got to get on I'm about to get on my 10,000. So you charged up your battery. Now you're going to put your Fitbit on, your Apple Watch on. Now you're getting ready to go get 10,000 steps. You ain't got 10,000 steps. You ain't got no steps in. Now all of a sudden you get ready to get 10,000 steps in. That might be too much. You don't go from 0 to 100 real quick. You don't do the Drake thing. If you ain't been getting no steps in, you need to ramp you back up to 2,000, 1,000, 2,000 steps. See where you feel good at. 1,000, 2,000 steps. Okay, cool. Woo. Do that for a few days. Maybe get a weekend of that, a couple weeks in. See how you feel, right? See what's on the other side of that scale. What the recovery looks like, right? What the recovery looks like. How does your body, when does the soreness come in? And how long does it last? right? Because sometimes you'll start moving and you feel soreness immediately. And then sometimes you'll feel good, but the soreness may not kick in for a day or two, right? Just know that those signals activate processes that last for about 24 to 72 hours. 24 to 72 hours. God bless my soul. Right? Now, those signals last 24 to 72 hours. And oddly enough, that's the same amount of time that your MSH, melanin stimulating hormone signal lasts. So that signal to boost your melanin production lasts the same amount of time as collagen synthesis. There's a reason for that. All of these things are tied together. All of these systems are tied together. So when you have, like, for instance, LeBron has found the fountain of youth because LeBron has created a routine for his workload, and he sticks with that routine. He has the same routine, same diet, same trainer, same everything every single day, like clockwork. Every day, like clockwork. So there's no shock. There's no shock to his joints. Now, can he still get injured? Absolutely, he can still get injured. But if you notice when he's playing basketball, LeBron's game is very limited. LeBron's life is about discipline. His game is limited. If you notice, if you watch basketball, I'm using analogies. I'm using LeBron, Kyrie, AD. I'm using because, A, that's how the conversation started. We got into the whole line of books and all that, but also because I want y'all to see the longevity in action, right? Me and Chase be watching the game, and we'd be like, oh, he getting ready to shoot the three. Because he got tells. Like, you know, when poker players be like, yo, you got tells? He got tells. We know when he getting ready to shoot the three. We know when he getting ready to drive and clear it out and go to the. So what am I saying? I'm saying even in the basketball game, he's doing the same moves over and over and over and over. Now, you also have something called high use injuries, or it's also called repetitive use injuries. right? Same thing, right? Out of our hundreds of joints, depending on what we do every day, we usually use a particular set of muscles every day, which means that we're using a specific set of joints every day. And because we're using these muscles and these joints more than the rest of them every day, we create imbalances, right? So that becomes a whole nother part of the story. That becomes a whole nother part of the story. Right? Now, hold on, let me go. I don't even have this. I can't even dip into the book. Dipped in this. What old man said? Dipped in the stash, splurged on a chain. Yeah, I can't even dip in the stash and splurge on a chain because I ain't got it. This book is brand spanking new. You'll have it before me. You'll have it before me. Hold on. Let me see. Okay, so let's go through the list. Let's go through the list just in case, because we don't often think about these things, right? We don't often think about these things, but we gotta kind of think about them. And this is why, again, we have these books on genetics. I don't know if y'all have these books. The family chemistry books. Yeah, I don't know if y'all have these books, but so what we did with these books was we went from electrons to atoms all the way up to DNA, genes, like how everything is built one thing into another, right? So how you have energy, right? We quantify energy in terms of particles, right? Protons, electrons. And we couple protons and electrons together and group them as atoms. And then we group the atoms, compounds, molecules, etc., all the way up until we build biological structures. And we talk about the differences in functionality from how things are built together, right? The differences in functionality from how things are built together. Okay. Standing on business, right? Standing on business book. In the standing on business book, we highlight a couple of different genes, right? We highlighted a couple of different genes, right? Because now we get ready to go a step past this. I'm just showing, I'm just trying to show you how, right? Now, because we're discussing the collagen, right? So you have the COL1A1 gene. Then you have the COL5A1 gene, right? Now, just as an example, right? All humans have different variations in these two genes, right? All humans have different variations in these two genes. Now, how do you get selections for different genes, right? That's where we get into the conversation of haplotype, single nucleotide polymorphisms, etc., right? We can break it down and go, oh yeah, Black folks jump higher and run faster. That could be cool, like that could be correct, like in a super general sense, but that's not a specific, that's not like in a specific, because you're going to have, you know, much bigger and stronger white guys than some Black guys and all over the place, right? If we try to trace physical traits back into time, into history, these hands that I got means that I come from a long line of scribes and teachers. Yeah. I don't have the big Michael Jordan hands, right? I don't have the big Michael Jordan hands. All right. You can tell I come from a long line of scribes and teachers, right? So you can start to see kind of what your family was doing just by looking at some of the traits that your family passes down, right? These two genes or variants are the collagen producing genes. So everybody's not producing collagen at the same rate. So even if everybody gets on the Blue Magic, right? Go to the website, AmericanHealer.website, and get your Blue Magic today. Right? If everybody's taking the same exact supplementation, same diet, same exercise, we're still going to have a different rate of collagen synthesis, which means you're going to have a different rate of recovery from your exercise. So this is why, another reason why I'm saying, like, if you're going against what RFK was saying, that different people need different everything, you don't know science. People want to make it a racial thing because he's a white guy that's working with a quote unquote white racist president, and he's talking about Black health, and he's saying that Black people need less medicine in some instances. Listen, that took us all the way back to, for some people, not me, I'm with RFK, but for some Black folks, I totally understand how that took you all the way back to the tree with the whooping on your back. I get it. Because typically, especially coming through poverty, we have got less because we're Black. Not because less is more, or not because our genes say that our body is built to compensate differently, blah, 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 blah. No, just because we're Black and there's not enough for you, get your butt on out of here. We're saving this for the good old white folks. So I can understand how what he said triggered. But that's why I say all the time, in the health space, racism cannot exist because, and I'm not saying that scientists cannot be racist. What I'm saying is that in order to progress in the space of science, we cannot operate from a race-based mindset. Because some of the things that you have to deal with will be so super triggering. Like, wait, what? Did this man just get on national TV and say Black folks need less medicine? Especially if we're educated to believe that medicine equals health. So now you basically saying, wait, did he say we need less health care than? No, that's not what he's saying at all. What he's saying is that people are different. People are different. Typically, fast twitch muscle and anabolic hormones follows faster collagen synthesis. Typically, anabolic hormones, fast twitch muscle follows collagen synthesis. Right? So everybody has to find that sweet spot. LeBron has found his sweet spot for his daily program, his life, what load he's carrying, his emotional load, his mental load, his physical load. He has found his sweet spot. So he's not overburdening himself at work and then trying to super unburden himself after work. It's like, no, everything is going to stay even keel. Everything is going to stay even keel. Because even keel keeps the integrity line. It's like when you got one side, like playing tug of war, you got one side pulling, the other side pulling. If they equal strength, the line stays straight. You got a perfect level, right? Balance, my eye. But if one side get loosey-goosey with it, pop the ligament, pop LCL, pop MCL, pop PCL, pop ACL, pop. Because your knees are in position where they got to deal with all that torque. It's a lot of torque coming that your knees got to deal with. Think about this. Think about where the largest muscle groups in your body are. Your butt, quads, right? Now your back, obviously, but your back is going to deal with your spine and your hips, right? People ain't getting spine replacement, but they do get a hip replacement, right? But that's, your butt is there playing tug of war with your hips, but then you got your quads. And so all of that torque from your core is spinning out to your knees. Right? So this is why knee replacement, ankle replacement, people is buying new knees and ankles like purses right now. These are only facts. Right? This is what I'm saying though, these family chemistry books, go to Amazon, get the whole set. If you don't have these family chemistry books, you're missing out. I'm telling you. So, but anyway, so jiu-jitsu. Listen, jiu-jitsu, right? Hockey. I know y'all like to think that hockey is the white folks' sports, but hockey comes from Kemet. Jiu-jitsu, hockey, handball. Handball does not belong to the Mexicans and the Puerto Ricans. Okay, I'm just letting y'all know. Handball does not belong to the Mexicans and the Puerto Ricans. No more than hockey belongs to the white folks. Okay, just keep it in the buck with you. Okay, jiu-jitsu, martial arts, that does not belong to the Japanese people. Okay, respectfully, you got to relax out there. Remember, I told y'all the respect is overdue. I'm repoing sciences. The jiu-jitsu, hockey, handball, baseball, right? Baseball is a pharaoh sport. Some sports belong to the pharaohs. Baseball is a pharaoh sport. It is a pharaoh ritual. So when you see baseball being played, America's pastime is ancient Egypt. Right? Baseball is a Kemetic pharaoh ritual. Archery, boating, rowing, right? So black folks, don't think that when you see them on like the, with Harvard and Oxford, Scotland Yard, or I don't know, but this comes from Kemet, right? Gymnastics, weightlifting, javelin and spear throwing. Now listen, they don't mind saying that we invented spear throwing. They give us credit for spear throwing. They don't know. Yeah, they start. Yeah, javelin. Oh yeah, that's from the ancient. The spear throwing Shaka Zulu. Yeah, they did. All these sports originated in Kemet. What I'm telling you right now. Fishing, boxing, high jumping, swimming, sprinting, marathon running. Even till today, we still dominate the marathon running. You go, hold up, the Kenyans, Kenyans is down, they down the river. Tanzanians, all them folks down the river or up the river, depending on how you think about it now, right? Now, basketball is interesting because we don't have no claim to fame to basketball, at least not directly, right? Unless you understand where the Olmecs came from. Remember, the Olmecs was the people that left Kemet when the Hyksos came in. When the Hyksos and the foreign rulers start coming in, that's when you have folks leaving, right? Those later on became your Olmec people, right? Those people started basketball. Yeah. The Olmecs started basketball. So we're going to credit Kemet with the Olmecs, and then we're going to credit the Olmecs with basketball, right? So my point, though, is if we leave sports out of Kemetic science and Kemetic naturopathy, we're doing a disservice, right? Because even the Sed Festival, right? The Sed Festival was an exercise thing. The Sed Festival was an exercise thing, right? The problem with the Sed Festival is the Sed Festival, you have like sparse records. You don't really have heavy documentation of the Sed Festival, right? The Sed Festival, in case y'all don't know, the Sed Festival goes back to the Old Kingdom, right? Goes back to the Old Kingdom, the first dynasties. But every so often, right? It's supposed to be every 30 years and then every 3 years after the first 30. But a lot of pharaohs wasn't lasting 30 years. So they just did their own Sed Festival whenever, right? But basically, the Sed Festival was a festival to show the people that the gods lived through you. And this is why you had the right to divine rulership. So this was a festival where the pharaoh come out amongst the people, obviously everybody eating and all that, eating, drinking, having fun. But the pharaoh is playing sports with the people. The pharaoh is running, marathon, sprinting, boat rowing, lifting weights. But the pharaoh is physically demonstrating that the gods live in and through him. So it's a physical demonstration that the pharaohs, right, Respectfully, we know Pharaoh is not the real thing, but I'm just saying. We know the rulers of Kemet, they were put on this festival to demonstrate their physical strength, their physical prowess, right? And you're supposed to have a 30-year grace period to build up to it, and then they check you every 3 years after that. But like I said, a lot of Kemetic rulers didn't last 30 years, so they just start doing their own thing. You know, we're gonna put together a said festival, and we're gonna run it up. You know, but my point is that physical fitness is very much a part of the Kemetic legacy, right? And it's been ignored. You know what I'm saying? Because again, we went through a 100-year period, whites, blacks, whatever. Everything Kemetic is metal nature. Metal nature. We studying metal nature. This is Kemetic science. Is metal nature. What about the math? What about the science? What about the medicine? What about the exercise? What about the sports? Right? What about the rest of the culture? Right? So even what we know of today as treating joints, right? Treating joints, right? All of that comes out of the literature. Now, there's one thing I talk about in the book, a story, because I was kind of like emotionally scarred. I was like emotionally scarred a little bit. Yeah, y'all better stop judging me, right? But I was like emotionally scarred a little bit because the haters was getting at me, trolling me, right? Because I said that you didn't need surgery. Now, mind you, this was in 2018. Maybe before then. No, this wasn't no 2018. I'm bugging. This was probably before 2018. Yeah, I'm bugging. Yeah, that's definitely a typo. I think I wrote 2018 in the book, but it's not 2018. It's 2016. I think it's 2016. Now that I think about it, like out loud, that's definitely a typo. Anyway, I had the sports clinic, and somebody drove, as a father, he drove his son to the sports clinic because his ACL was torn. And he wanted to get the holistic, right? He didn't want to do the surgery and medicine on his son. He wanted to get, he wanted to go natural, and he wanted to know if that was possible, because all the doctors that he saw had told him that your ACL, like, you have to have surgery. It does not heal by itself. And I told him, I shot him straight. You know what I'm saying? What I wound up telling him, just to make a long story short, what I wound up telling them was that going the natural route, right? Going the natural route, depending on what your lifestyle is a lot more difficult. It's a lot more painful. And depending on what your lifestyle is, it may not work for you. It doesn't work for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, not just genetics wise, right? And again, this has nothing to do with white, black, whatever the case may be, but not just genetics wise, but your lifestyle, right? He was coming to me because his son played high school ball. I'm like, well, I do have up close and personal relationship with ACL. Here's the thing. it's going to take you like 3 to 5 times as long to heal an ACL the natural way than the surgery. So let's step outside of the holistic herb universe. Let's move away from that. The anti-doctor, like let's leave doctors, medicine, herbs, and all that off the table for a minute. What would you like to see happen with your son? He's talented. He's good. You know, scouts, they, you know, I want to see him get back into the, I said, okay, so let's look at this. Here's the timeline. What grade he in? He'll be in his 20s by the time his ACL healed the natural way. If you want him to get back into sports and he want to get back into sports, there's no other option but surgery. We could speed recovery with, you know, I got plenty of things to help speed recovery and some other stuff to, you know, pain and this and that, but don't listen to these herb guys on the internet. Like your son, they're gonna mess your kid. You need to take him to the doctor, and we need to get the surgery. We need to get the surgery. So, anyway, I told that story on one of my lives one day, and the people went crazy. Everybody attacked me, right? The holistic, you know, the holistic universe. It was like, oh my God, how dare you go along with the doctors? Why did you say that he should get a surgery? Blah, 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 blah. Then the you know, the science side of the universe, or they think they scientific anyway. They're like, why would you tell that man that an ACL could grow back without a surgery when you know it's no such thing as an ACL healing by itself and blah, 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 blah. So everybody attacking, right? Here we are, almost 10 years later, and now guess what? The scientific documentation is coming out. The scientific documentation is coming out. And, you know, we got to bear with it for now. When scientific documentation come out, it take a long time for it to really. So right now what we have is scientific documentation coming out saying that in 30 to 40% of people with torn ACLs, without surgery, they have what's called spontaneous regeneration. And basically what spontaneous means is that it heals itself, right? But again, what I told the guy, though, just like I would tell everybody, it's what your lifestyle is like. Now, how does that translate? Anyway, that whole story, how does that translate to relevance with the Kemetic ideology? Because when you go back to the medical papyri, right? The medical papyri, they don't have joint surgeries. They didn't do joint surgeries like that in Kemet. They didn't do joint surgeries. They didn't like cut off. They wasn't cutting off a body part from somewhere else, gluing it over here. That's typically what a ACL surgery is. In case you don't know, that's what they're getting ready to do to Kyrie right now. Kyrie actually probably already had the surgery because they don't play. They get you right into surgery immediately. Zoop, get you that recovery time going right into surgery. But what they do is they cut some tissue from somewhere else in your body. So maybe your hamstring or something. They'll cut a piece of that off. And then they'll open up the knee and they'll suture that in between where the ACL fibers popped. And then they'll close you back up. And basically your healing time or your regenerating time is however long it takes for that tissue that they cut from your thigh to now become, you know, to integrate into your knee. right? And then after that, it's baby tissue. So now you got to build the strength back up into it. So it takes you X amount of months for the tissue to integrate, to reintegrate, and then X amount of months to rebuild up the strength, to go back to whatever your lifestyle is. But they didn't do that in Kemet, right? And so because they didn't do that in Kemet, the assumption was they didn't understand, like they didn't understand or they didn't have a plan for it. No, the plan was nutrition. Because back then they didn't have professional athletes. So you don't have people under the gun. If you're not a professional athlete or trying to be a professional athlete, you don't really need to have the surgery. Right? But if your lifestyle is predicated around that, then you need to have surgery. I agree. Like if you're a young athlete or you're somebody that want to be an athlete, you're on a timeline. If you in 10th, 11th grade, your window is you in your window. So you got to have the surgery as soon as possible to get you back on the court as soon as possible so you can try to, be seen and be heard and get where you got to go. But if you just Joe Schmo, John Q. Public, I mean, I don't know, depending on what you do for a living, you may not need that. Right? You might just need nutrition, speed of recovery, and, manage your pain. Knowing that the pain is the healing signal. So your speed and recovery obviously is going to be tied to your genetics, your body's ability to build new tissue, but it's also going to be tied to the pain signal. So the louder that area screams, the squeaky wheel gets oiled. The more squeaking that wheel do, the more oil it's going to get. Oh, man. You know what? I don't even remember. I do know it was something, but it didn't involve. No, because you need something. Man. I don't even remember. Damn. I wish I remember that answer because Amber had to deal with that. Her left leg was shattered. So they wound up having to they had to put a screw in there. I honestly think for some of that, it comes down to money and insurance. Because there's different materials that they can use. And the different material is where the costs come in. Yeah, but if you have something shattered, a lot of times you can't, all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put the bone back together. Yeah. If it's shattered, you're in trouble. You're going to need something besides a cast. You're going to need like a little bit more intensive. You're going to need some pins and needles. Yeah, you're going to need some pins and needles. Man, I'm so mad I can't remember the answer to that. But it was a couple of different options we had. Because even the surgery, they was like, we could put this in, but we got to take this back out. And the bone is going to heal around this. So it's a whole thing to take this out. Like it's a whole, it's going to be a whole thing. But yeah, there's some different materials that you can use. But this we got to get into. See, this is a whole, there's a whole can of worms. It's a whole can of worms. And we got to realize we talking about pain. Remember, when we start talking about pain management, a lot of pain management is going to center around, right? Inflammation, NRF2 system, interleukins, right? IL-1, IL-6, tumor necrosis factor, right? Pain, but here's the problem, because this is also the healing signal. Right? This also the healing signal to bring the nutrients and the resources. So a lot of times with pain management, people just focus it in on stopping the pain, but stopping the pain is not necessarily the idea, because you're going to slow down them resources from traveling depending on what you're doing. Right? Depending on what you're doing. So that's not necessarily the play. Right? So we don't want to we want to control this. Right? This is why we have the detox kit. NRF2 system management. Right? Go to Amazon. Go to AmericanHealer.website and get your detox kit, right? For controlling your NRF2 system. This is important, right? Because this is going to be, the NRF2 system controls your antioxidant system, right? So in your body, you have two different let's do it like this. Right? Right? You got, you know what? Let's just get rid of all of this. Let's get rid of all of this. Remember, we had our little blueprint drawn up, right? Input, output. Go back to our trigonometry. Function. Right? Well, in this scenario, we can put our NRF2 system here. Right? Now, on this side, we're going to put white blood cells and antioxidants. Right? White blood cells and antioxidants. Now, your NRF2 system is inside your cells. Your white blood cells outside the cells. So technically, anything that alerts the NRF2 system has already got past your white blood cells. That's the key piece you need to understand. Anything that activates your NRF2 system has already escaped your white blood cells. If your B cells, T cells, if your white blood cells could have took care of it, they would have took care of it, and your NRF2 system would still be dormant, relaxing, sleep, right? Resting up. If the NRF2 system is activated, that means whatever the problem is, it already got past the white blood cells. So now the NRF2 system, and this works, your white blood cells work by oxidation, right? They use peroxide most of the time. So even when white blood cells is doing their thing, it can still get messy, right? This is how people died from a cytokine storm, right? Part of the cytokine storm is an increase in hydrogen peroxide production. The NRF2 system is going to activate your antioxidants, and not necessarily antioxidants in the traditional way you thinking, like I'm going to eat an apple or orange and get antioxidants. No, this is activating the enzyme-based antioxidant system. You have a whole host of enzyme-based antioxidants that the NRF2 system is responsible for activating, right? This is also a part of your healing system. This is also a part of your healing system, right? This is also a part of your healing system. So the NRF2 system is a part of this, right? Also, your anabolics. Anabolics is a part of this antioxidant system, right? These goes together. Anabolics, NRF2 system, antioxidants. White blood cells and how they work to breaking things down. They eat things, they disintegrate things, they break things down. So white blood cells and their oxidation that they bring to the table will be on the catabolic side of the body. That's not healing and regenerating. Healing and regenerating, even though we use these words interchangeably, it doesn't go with white blood cells. Even though white blood cells, we think of white blood cells as part of the immune system, and we also think of healing as part of the immune system, but not always it works out that way. The white blood cells is a part of protecting. White blood cells is about protecting, not necessarily healing. Healing is the thing you do after you were left unprotected. You understand what I'm saying? So think about this. Like, you put a camera on the front of your house, right? You have police patrolling the neighborhood, right? Those are things you use to deter crime. But now, if a burglar or a rapist, goes past, I mean, F the police and, you know, whatever. They know how to disable your alarm system or whatever. They know how to go past your camera or something. Or maybe they had masks on and they didn't care, right? And they broke into your house and raped everybody. Healing would have to happen after that traumatic thing that happened to you, right? So this part of the system, the antioxidant anabolic system working together, would be about the healing after the traumatic thing. The white blood cells and how they move, they would be more like the deterrent to not let the traumatic thing happen to you in the first place, right? But once something happened to you, it can't unhappen. You just got to heal from that. You got to heal from that. So the body works kind of like your society. You know what I'm saying? So you can pull some analogs or analogies from society, because society is built on, everything is built on our biochemistry is all we know. Our biochemistry is where we get divine order from, right? So if you don't have that astronomy book, Say the magic words. Go to Amazon and put that astronomy book in your cart. Right? Hold on, I'm looking for something. You see that? So that's the other piece. We have to get into what the anatomy is. How they function, how the joints function. Right? How do joints function? How do joints function? Like, what is a joint? Right? What is a joint? Why you keep saying roll that joint, roll them joints? The joints are where your bones come together. Your ligaments, your tendons is what holds them together. The synovial fluid is what lubricates those bone ends so that way you don't have bone rubbing on bone. Right? So you need all of them to work together. You have tissues going bone to bone. Then you have tissues going muscle to bone. You have tissues going bone to bone, and you have tissues going muscle to bone. Right? So this right here is a hyperextended knee. That's a hyperextended knee. Oh, let me get you a different look, different view. You see that? His knee is hyperextended. Shout out to my guy. See the ladies, the ladies come in with the nurturing energy, like, oh, that look painful. Yeah. So what happens is this, right? You got bone, right? Now my drawing just gonna be super, super basic. You got bone, right? The space where the bones come together, this is gonna be called a joint, right? So now you're gonna have tissues that attach the bone to each other, right? You're gonna have tissues that attach bone to each other, and then on the bone you got muscle, right? So now you have tissues that attach the muscles to the bone, right? And then inside the space, matter of fact, it's probably too small. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Let's make this bigger. With my terrible drawing, right? So you're gonna have these is both bones, right? Now on the bone, you're gonna have some muscle, right? And you're gonna have tendons, right? You're gonna have tissue that attaches the muscle to the bone, right? Then you also have tissues that attach bone to bone, right? Then you also have in the middle actually fluid is not even a good way, even though it's called synovial fluid, that's a bad term. What it should be called is gel, right? Shouldn't be synovial fluid, it should be synovial gel, right? So this is how it goes. Now, depending on what type of joint this is, it determines whether it can move or not and what directions it moves in. Whether it can move or not at all, because you have immovable and movable joints. Hint, hint, wink, wink. You have immovable and movable joints, right? Right? Masons, immovable, movable, anyway. But your tissues that's attaching the muscles to the bone, and then that's attaching bone to bone, determines the range of motion that you have, the degree of motion that you have in that joint area. So this whole area is a joint, right? So now what you're looking at, when you look at this is called hyperextended. This is hyperextended. It looks like his leg is bent backwards. It looks like his leg is bent backwards. Right? It looks like his leg is bent backwards. And that's because largely it is. Because once you tear a tissue, that tissue that contains your range of motion is now going to allow for some nasty looks, right? It's going to look crazy. Because we know, like, you don't have to ever read a book or know a body part. You don't got to know nothing about joints, ligaments, tendons. You don't got to know nothing about nothing. When you look at that, you know that's not supposed to go like that. Period. You don't have to know the phrase hyperextended, nothing. Right? So, again, this is one of the areas specifically the blue magic gel is specifically useful, right? Because we need that fluid there. That's number one. We need the fluid there. And then we also have to deal with the integrity of these tissues, right? Now, one of the problems is, and this is especially important. This is why usually these are grouped. Even though we all experience this, these are typically grouped under sports industry injuries. And the reason is because athletes experience them more often, right? But besides what we talked about earlier when I was saying the secret to LeBron longevity, the big problem with this is we're trained when we exercise to focus on this, to focus on the muscles, right? And the problem is muscle heals faster. Muscle heals faster than connective tissue. So we primarily work on these, right? Nutrition is structured around muscle. Workout programs structured around muscle, right? Protein is structured around muscle, right? Get your branch chain amino acids, right? Get your leucine, right? Your leucine, your branch chain amino. Yeah, all that's based on the muscle. The problem is you're not realizing that muscles contract and relax, contract and relax, contract and relax. And each time your muscle goes through that process, it's pulling on this. It's pulling on these tissues. So if you solely focused on building the muscle, you have to realize that these tissues here that the muscle is pulling on to get the bones to move in the first place take longer to heal than these. And your nutrition has to be flipped inside out because 90% of your body's protein goes here to these tissues. Collagen. But our focus is built around the muscle synthesis, right? And that creates a lopsided, that puts more pressure on these weaker tissues. That puts more pressure on these weaker tissues. And these weaker tissues have to translate. Remember, this right here, this joint area is called what's the name of the book? I forgot the name of the book already. Sports articulations. Right? Sports articulations. Right? Because what's happening? This force is being translated here. Remember, the bone is piezoelectric. So what you have is force being generated every time your muscle contract and relax. There's force being generated that's translated to the bone through these tendons, through these tissues. So now these also serve as direct signals to the bone, telling the bone to get stronger. So the bone is building up stronger. The bone is getting stronger. The muscle getting stronger. But what about the tissue? The tissue's stuck. The tissue stuck. And guess what? If you're a vegan, you're in even more trouble. If you're a vegan, you're in even more trouble. Because you don't have no accidental, like you don't have no, you're not eating chicken. If you're a meat eater, you're eating collagen building material, whether you're conscious of it or not. If you're a vegan, though, you have to be hyper conscious of it. You have to say, oh, I'm going to make sure I get my blue magic. I'm going to make sure I get this and that and the other, because I'm going to make sure that I eat enough for these tissues. Because it's not going to be in your quinoa and, you know, your salad on the side, and you have to make sure that you put that into your meal plan. You got to program that into your meal plan. You got to program that into your meal plan. Right? So when the injury first happened, immediately Chase asked me, he was like, Dad, how long you think it's going to take for him to come back? I said, this is over for Dallas. It's over for Dallas. Kyrie is not going to be right for 2 seasons. He'll be ready to play next season, but if he played next season, he ain't going to be the main Kyrie like how he is. That's going to take him a while to play back into that level, to get them knees back, to get, you know, back to where it need to be. Plus, what happens is when you got an injury like that, when you got an injury like this, and you got to go sit down and get surgery and all that, the rest of your body goes through a whole period. Remember what we're talking about. The constant grind. So when you get the surgery, you on crutches, you on bed rest. All of your entire body is getting weaker. So when you get back going, you not only have to heal that knee up, but you got to make up for the 3 months or 6 months you've been sitting on your butt. Right? So your whole body has to rejuvenate itself and reintegrate and all of those things. Right? And then you got to gradually work yourself to a plateau, and then you got to stay there at that plateau. Right? Now, a lot of us, we dealing with these issues. Forget about Kyrie. Kyrie got that bag. Kyrie got money. He got the best doctors in the world. Kyrie gonna be okay. But what about you at home with your lower back? Right? Each one of your vertebrae has anywhere from 4 to 6 joints attached to it. Each one of your vertebrae in your spine. So this is how you get the lower back pain. And then you have muscles inside here that goes like this to keep your spine like that, in the lower spine, to keep your spine straight. You got muscles that go this way. You got a lot of muscles that go this way. Everybody thinks about these. Your abs, your obliques. Everybody thinks about this stuff. You know what I'm saying? But you got muscles that go this way. Right? To keep the integrity of the lower spine like this. Now, when you get fat, it's pulling your body in a certain direction. So your blubber is it's manipulating your spine. When you manipulate the spine, you compress the vertebrae, and that changes the circulation of fluid in the spine and the ability of the nerves and the joints to do their job. It's a longer conversation. We're going into it though. We're going in. See, this is what I'm saying. We got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of anatomy to cover. We just listen. Let me find this book. This is low-key becoming one of my favorite books. You know what that means. Once a book becomes one of my favorite books, I can no longer find it. Yo. I start going all over the house with it. Okay. Where is that book? Hey, they not like us. They not like us. I found my book. I could not find this book. Okay, I found you. Now. I don't think it's the shoe. I thought it was this. Am I tripping? No, this was quantum cardiology. It's not this book. Yo. Yeah, I feel like my books be alive. Like they be playing with me. These books be playing with me. Like when I'm looking for them, they be hiding. Like, but you know what? Also, what's going on too? My babies is picking them up. Chase is in a groove. I don't know what this is that he going through, but I'm loving it. I don't know what it is he going through, but I'm loving it because he tapping in a little bit more. Man, where is this? This pocket. I don't know. I can't. And he only played a few games for them. He only played a few games for them. But listen, this is why we got to get into. This is why it's such a throughway into this information because see, I be wanting to say stuff, but you know. No. What I'm gonna say is go get the books, hit the Cash App. Oh, wait a minute. We got Chicago for real in the building. We got Marvo in the building. Shout out to my platinum producing superstars in the building. Chicago's on Marvo in the building. Is Kyrie gonna come back better than ever? Well, here's the thing. Kyrie lists his information as New Jersey, but Kyrie is really like from the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? So Kyrie is tough as nails. You know what I'm saying? Like Kyrie is tough as nails. So I have no doubt that he's gonna come back. Plus, like I said, Kyrie gonna be good because he got that bread. You know what I'm saying? So he gonna have what he's supposed to have, right? One way or another. I just would like to see personally Kyrie leave Dallas. I would like to see him leave Dallas, right? I would like to see him get up out of there. Leave Dallas. Opt in for your bag because he got a 1 year, $44 million opt in. Opt in and then don't play. Opt in, collect that money and sit out and then leave Dallas. Because Dallas is dirty right now. Dallas is dirty. Opt in and leave Dallas. Listen, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. That would be nice. Hold on, let me see something. I don't think it's in the rough asphalt. Nah, it was one of these books. I don't think it's in the book of shoes. Nope. Autism book. Speaking to resistance.
Expecting me to buy back tomorrow.